On another matter, the superannuation tax change announced by the Treasurer yesterday to come into effect after the next election. I spoke to the Chartered Accountants Australia New Zealand earlier this hour. They're worried about this approach. They're saying that it's a big move, but on a very small and diminishing cohort, that others won't get to that level given rules as they stand now. What's your read on the approach from the Treasurer?
Look, Kieran, business and government have been talking about tax reform for 20 years or more. We know what needs to be done. We need to get on with the business of enacting good reform. Now, the government has made some announcements in the last 24, 48 hours. We need to see the details of it. But on our reading of it, this affects less than 100,000 people. But the real question here is, does this open the door for the more important tax reform debate that we need to have if we are to lift productivity and investment and grow the economy for the future? That's the debate we actually have to have, and it can't be on the never. It's a debate that we need to have now to enact policies to drive prosperity in the next two budgets.
You've just released some analysis. I want to ask you before you go about this, because Andrew Forrest, I saw, the billionaire today, talking up the need for government to incentivise investment in renewable hydrogen energy. I know that Europe and the US have moved pretty aggressively on this front. How much time do you believe Australia has to try and drive investment there?
Look, Kieran, Australia has great comparative advantages to drive renewable hydrogen for the Australian economy and for our exports. It comprises about 1% of the energy mix. In the future, it'll be 15 to 20% of the energy mix. So it's really important for the domestic economy. And there is a dividend, if we get this right, which is to grow an export market. Now, what's happened is that the rest of the world has moved really quickly. The United States in particular, through the Inflation Reduction Act, has a myriad of incentives to try and draw and suck in capital from the rest of the world, suck in workers and talent to the US. And so where Australia has a comparative advantage, these incentives in the US could undermine the potential for Australia to drive decarbonisation in Australia and to export. And we've seen the Europeans react really quickly to this. And it's not just the Europeans. The Middle East, the Gulf states, have also reacted to it. Now, we don't have a long runway because first movers can get an advantage. And so we have a 12-month window in which we need to act.
Pradeep Philip, great to get your thoughts as always. Talk to you soon.